So the magical carpet ride, if you will, of the Indiana Pacers will continue as they took care of OKC easily, and I do mean easily tonight in Indiana. The final score doesn't actually really reflect just what a big blowout this game actually was. The final was 108-91, but still, this game was, if you will, the time of death of this game could have been called before the start of the actual fourth quarter. We're going to give you our instant reaction on what went down in game number 6 and look forward to game number 7 of your NBA championship, which will be held on Sunday. Hey, welcome back to the NBA Rundown. As always, I'm Dave DeBaugh, coming to you live and, of course, on tape from the heart of the Silicon Valley. Hey, new to the channel, please go ahead and subscribe. We are like 1.5 million plus listens and views in on the channel in the past year and a half. So thanks so much for all of your support. Now, I heard some great lines tonight in tonight's broadcast, but I think one of the lines that stood out, I should say, the most was the line about TJ McConnell. And the announcers basically said, who would have thought that going into a game 7 that the other team was actually going to have to figure out how to actually shut down TJ McConnell if they're actually going to have a chance at winning the title. Now, look, the Energizer Bunny Rabbit that the Pacers have on their team is certainly a difference maker, and it's pretty interesting. He actually didn't really shoot the ball terribly well in the first quarter of tonight's game, played much better from a scoring perspective in the second and third quarter, but he was the difference, believe it or not, in the first quarter, which allowed the Pacers to find a way to get actually back into the game because they were down pretty early. The other thing that you can sort of take away from tonight's game, and it's something I've been saying for months now, but that is that Obi Toppin is definitely a difference maker. Now, he finished tonight's game. He had a couple junk minutes, but he ended up finishing tonight's game with 20 points. And when you watch him play, you can see what a difference maker he is, especially when he's coming off of the bench. Now, we know that Tyrese Haliburton has a sore calf, and, he played fairly well for the most part. He ended up with 14 points, 5 assists, had 1 board in the game, and, certainly was hampered, but he did what he had to do in tonight's game. And as I watched tonight's game, I couldn't help but think that this Indiana Pacers team is just simply all heart. And when you think about the roster makeup of the Indiana Pacers, look, Obi Toppin is a bit of a journeyman at this point in his career. Yes, he was drafted by the New York Knicks and had a chance to play at Madison Square Garden for years before eventually ending up in Indiana. But he was basically thrown out of MSG and has resurrected his career under Rick Carlisle, who is still today one of the best head coaches in the NBA. Now, as we get into Game 7, I'm sure there will be more adjustments. That's what we've seen from game to game, lots of adjustments. And that's what all the sports pundits are going to be talking about for the next 36 hours. But one of the key facets of those sports pundits talking about the key adjustments that actually need to be made in Game 7 might not be possible. Because one of the big differences in tonight's game from a strategic perspective was actually TJ McConnell playing with Tyrese Haliburton at the same time. That is something that they actually haven't really done a lot of in the past. And what it ended up doing was it ended up putting the OKC Thunder back on their heels. So you can expect that in Game 7, we will see a similar strategic output by Rick Carlisle and the Indiana Pacers. Now, of course, the home court advantage will certainly be a advantage for OKC.
Is the future.
And I certainly don't expect OKC to get blown out in Game 7. But if ever there was an underdog team, a team that nobody, and I mean nobody had picked to actually end up in the NBA Finals, let alone actually force a Game 7, it would have to be a team that has a player in the Energizer Bunny Rabbit and another player in Obi Toppin. So you've got TJ McConnell and Obi Toppin. And those are the two key players that led to the Game 6 victory for the Pacers today. And for OKC to have to spend some time in, if you will, the video room trying to figure out how to shut down TJ McConnell and Obi Toppin heading into Game 7 should tell you everything you need to know about the heart and soul of this Indiana Pacers team. Now, of course, there were other players that played well tonight for the Pacers. Andrew Nembhard certainly played well at the beginning of the game. Pascal had a pretty good game, 13 rebounds, 3 assists, and 16 points in the game. I think for the most part, OKC has figured out at least how to slow him down from an offensive scoring perspective. However, they still couldn't keep him off of the boards. Now, if we're going to take a look at what OKC didn't do tonight, one of the key areas that you have to look to at this point, and I think it's premature to say that Chet Holmgren is actually going to be an all-star. I cannot tell you how overrated that particular comment is. Chet Holmgren in Game 6 tonight had 4 points and 7 rebounds and distributed the ball to nobody. Don't tell me that Chet Holmgren is an all-star in the waiting, because he has a long way to go. He ended up only playing 24 minutes in tonight's game, but once again, the game was over before the fourth quarter even started. All right, I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions on tonight's game, as well as your thoughts on where you see this all heading for Game 7. I think we'll end up with a really close game in Game 7. It's my personal opinion. And I think I'd like nothing more than to see OKC up by 2 with Tyrese Haliburton limping down the court with 2 seconds to go. And I'll let you figure out who I want to win. All right, thanks so much for tuning in to the NBA Rundown tonight. Once again, if you're new to the channel, please go ahead and subscribe. And, of course, like this video. As always, I'm Dave DeBaugh, coming to you live and on tape from the heart of the Silicon Valley. I'm wishing you all a tremendous rest of your sports viewing day.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit, I got no